Sometimes whenever we start using a learning management system and we start to think about feedback, how we can leave feedback for students, one of the common questions that comes up is, where's the pen? How am I able to write on documents to be able to give feedback the way that I used to? Because we've been so used to, for so many years, taking student papers and using our pen, sometimes a red pen, sometimes other colors, to be able to write our comments on it. And the great thing about using a learning management system and the productivity suites like G Suite and Office 365 is that we have lots of ways to recreate those same goals that we have whenever we would write with the pen. And we're able to leave students feedback in a variety of different ways. It just might look a little bit different than what we're used to. And so what we're going to look at in this video is how to leave better feedback. So we can go beyond that simple great job or that simple 10 out of 10 and actually leave students some feedback that will move them forward, that'll help them to be able to grow in their studies. And so part of it has to do with knowing where you can leave feedback, but a big part of it too, I think, is knowing what kind of feedback is effective. And so let's take a look at that real quick. One of my favorite ways to look at feedback is to see the 7 keys to effective feedback that were written by Grant Wiggins years ago in a blog on ASCD. And so he leaves these 7 keys that are research-based. And whenever we look at these can really guide us to leave really good feedback within our learning management system. And so in that post, he talks about how feedback should be goal referenced. It should lead students to be able to reach a goal. We're kind of coaching them along to be able to do something. Feedback should be tangible and transparent, meaning that the desired results should be clear. We should know what we're trying to reach and everybody should be able to see it. Feedback should be actionable. Students should know what to do with the feedback once they've gotten it. So once they've gotten it, they know what the next steps are. Feedback should be user-friendly. So students should know what to do and be able to understand it. It should be in words that are clear to them. Feedback should be timely. So it shouldn't take too long for students to get that feedback. Whenever it sits on our desk for too long, then it makes students a little less interested in picking up what it is and being able to act on it. Feedback should be ongoing. So students should get lots of opportunities to improve. So, it shouldn't be just a once in a while type of thing. And then feedback should be consistent. It needs to be stable, accurate, trustworthy. They need to know what to expect every time that they get feedback. And then whenever we take some of those keys, we're able to apply those in our learning management system to be able to really drive students forward. So thankfully, there are a variety of different places that we can leave feedback, within our learning management system. And they go from the very precise and specific to the more general and global and big. So let's take a look at a couple places that we can leave feedback within our learning management system. For one, we can go all the way down, when we're talking specific, we can go all the way down to the document level. We can go all the way down to the sentence level, to the word, even all the way down to the letter, and leave specific feedback on all of that. This is where I think a lot of times we think about picking up that red pen and being able to write on students' documents. So if students are doing work within a document or a slide presentation or whatever, we have those document comments that we can use, those file comments. So whenever you highlight a specific word or whenever you highlight a specific sentence, you're able to click that you're able to click that comment button and be able to leave student-specific comments. So that kind of takes the place, in some ways, of being able to circle something, is to be able to use those particular comments. Now, we can get a lot bigger than that, of course. They're able to see the comments as a class. So think of these kind of comments like, these are the ones that where you're going to stand up in front of class, or you're going to kind of like shout out to everybody, hey, remember, this is what we're supposed to do, this is what we're not supposed to do, and you kind of give them those reminders. You can even answer questions there. So it's kind of like it's being done out loud in front of everyone. But then you've also got, you've got a variety of different ways to interact with students here. You also have the ability to leave students private comments in their inbox. And, that's the way you think of that kind of like calling a student over to your desk and talking to them one-on-one. Now, there's one little hack that you can use when you do this. Really, you can do this with any of the options I gave earlier, but this is the one that I can think of the most, is whenever you're doing those interactions back and forth with students, if you're looking for a way to do it more quickly, more efficiently, consider this. If you don't have the Canvas app or your learning management system app, maybe you get that on your smartphone. And whenever you've got that, as student responses, as student messages come into you, a lot of times there will be those little push notifications that'll pop down at the top of your phone. And what's nice about those is that A, you know exactly when they come in if you see those on your phone. But B, a lot of times what you can do is drag that notification down and it gives you a place to reply. And so you can hit that reply back to students super quickly. Now, to make it even faster, what I've found is using that mobile device and being able to use the voice typing or the dictation feature. A lot of times on our smartphones, you have this little microphone. And if you hit that microphone, it's going to listen to our speech and it's going to dictate it all out into text. And so the benefit of this, if you've never considered leaving student feedback or interacting with students through this, it's really helpful because we're able to talk a lot faster than we're able to type with our fingers, and definitely a lot faster than we can type with our thumbs. And so if you hit that little microphone and you interact with students through that using the voice typing, we can get messages back out to students in an instant. We just talked about earlier how one of the 7 keys to effective feedback was that it's timely. And so if students ask us a question or submit something and we're able to get it back quickly, that meets that timeliness factor. And so this is definitely one way that you can do that. Now, in addition to all of this, there's another way that we can get students feedback that actually adds richness to the process. And that is to let them give each other feedback, give peer feedback. And so there's an easy way to be able to set that up through your productivity suite, whether it's G Suite or Office 365. I'm going to demonstrate it here in Google Docs. And so I'm able to do this whole process just using a couple of simple Google Docs. And so what I might do is I might set up the document first to say what the assignment is. So I'm going to call this one, let's say, like essay number 5. So I'll do a little bit of formatting. I can even use this spot here. This is where I might do some instructions. And then down below it, I'm going to start listing the names of my students. So let's say we've got Alex, and we've got Bob, and we got Carmen, and we got Diane, and we've got Enrique. I'm trying to do A, B, C, D, E. Felipe. I feel like I could kind of go on and on here. But let's just stop right there for now. Now, I, as the teacher, have created this home base, and then I've added all of my students' names. Now, the reason I did this is because I'm going to share this document with my students, and under the sharing settings, I'm going to make it anyone with the link can edit. Because what I'm going to want my students to do is to create their own document, and then I'm going to want them to link to it from this document. So for instance, when Alex comes in here, he's going to highlight his name and put a link out to his document. So here's how that would look. Let's say that we came over here and this is Alex's document. And so here is where Alex types his document. In fact, since we're talking about typing documents, I wanted to show you a really cool feature of Google Docs. And so it's under Tools, and it is voice typing. If you've never tried this out before, this is pretty slick. Alex is going to write his document with his voice, period. He doesn't have to use his voice, period. But it can be really helpful to use this tool, comma, especially for students who struggle with typing with a traditional keyboard, period. And so I stop. Notice that it's piping instead of typing. Oh, and look there, I'm able to go and change it. It even underlines the words that might be a little bit off. And this one is accurate. So is going to write his document with his voice. So let's say Alex gets done with his document here. Now, what we want the other students to be able to do is to come onto Alex's document and leave him some comments so that they're able to see his feedback. We don't want them to be able to change the document around, but we want them to be able to leave some comments. So Alex, we're going to coach Alex to hit that share button and change it to an anyone with the link can comment. So he's going to change it to commenter. And so when he changes his document to that, now Alex is going to copy that link and he's going to come over to this one. Remember, this is the one that I provided in my assignment in Canvas. I gave them a link to this document and I say, hey, go type in your own document. And then whenever you're done, make one of those comment links and then come into mine. And so Alex is able to edit my document. So he comes in here and he highlights his name and he hits the link button and he pastes in that link that he just created. This is that anyone with the link can comment. And so you see what we've created here. Me as the teacher, I made this document where all of the students could create links to their own documents. This is kind of like a hub. This is kind of like Grand Central Station where you can jump and take off to somebody else's. And so let's say that Bob creates his own document and creates a link. I'm just using Alex's link, but you kind of get the idea, right? Diane comes in and she makes a link to hers. Enrique makes a link to his, and Felipe makes a link to his. And so once the students have all created links to their work, then we tell them, okay, take somebody else's link, click on it, and then once you go there, and see, this would be Carmen's document right here. This is where Alex could come in here and could see Carmen's document and then could highlight and see if it accidentally said piping. He could make a comment and say, did you mean typing? And so that's like, little corrective feedback, but it could be even bigger picture feedback. Like, for instance, giving his opinion on something. Like he could say, I found this to be helpful too. And once you start to coach students on how they can give each other feedback, it's really powerful in a couple ways. For one, it takes a lot of that pressure off of your shoulders to be the only person providing feedback, because then students are able to provide feedback to each other. Of course, it is important to coach them on what good feedback should look like. But then, in addition to that, it also encourages students to see writing through the eyes of the person providing the feedback. And whenever they start to see that perspective, it starts to change the way that they do their work. Because when they can see what it looks like from someone who's providing the feedback, it kind of helps them to see their work a little bit differently. So they're able to anticipate any sort of problems that might come ahead of time. So when you think about it, we can make those, as teachers, we can make those little specific document comments. We can make bigger comments on, to the whole class on an assignment. We can shoot private comments into students' inbox, and we can even set up a peer feedback space where students can get feedback from each other. And in that way, they're getting lots of feedback that can help drive them forward.